Hi,
Hi.
this is Michael Waitze, and welcome back to the Thailand GameChanger. This show is focused on the driving forces behind the startup ecosystem in Thailand and Southeast Asia, produced by our really good friends at True Digital Park in conjunction with Michael Waitze Media. We have the most informative and insightful conversations with startup founders, venture capitalists, and senior leaders from tech giants and the government, all recorded here in this awesome studio at True Digital Park. Today, I'm joined by Thamma Varangoon, a co-founder and the chief marketing officer at Centrovision.
Michael.
Sawadee, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. And you?
I am super.
Very.
Yeah. Can you give us a little bit of your background for context?
I have a small startup. I graduated actually from political science.
Really?
Yeah, very interesting.
Where did you go to school?
Chulalongkorn University.
Chula, okay.
And after I graduated, I have a whole gap year to travel. So when I travel, I see many people.
Right.
So it's very exciting.
Where did you go for your gap year?
I go to Europe. I go to Latin America.
Really?
Yeah. And it's very exciting because the people, the atmosphere, and I'm seeking for business.
What made you take a gap year? Like most kids graduate from college and either go right to work, go work for the family business, go get an MBA, go get a master's degree. What was it about your college experience or your life that said, I want to take a time to travel and learn about the world?
I think I watched too much movies.
I think I watched too many movies.
And I think I have to go see in the movie. In Latin, I saw many Latin movie, and I want to see them.
Did you go to South America?
Yeah.
Did you go to Machu Picchu?
Yeah.
Wow, what was that like? Amazing, right? I think, and I tried to tell my daughter to do this too before she went to college, I think everybody should take a gap year. I really mean that. And I think a lot of kids argue with their parents about it, right? Like, come on, I want to just do this. And parents think it's frivolous.
Yeah.
I don't think it's frivolous at any level, actually. I think it's actually quite important. Okay. What is Centrovision in reality, right? And what was the inspiration for starting sort of the drone part of that business?
Mm-hmm. If you define the Centrovision, at first, the company is a consultant. But the climate of this story is 2010.
2010.
When the oil and gas company come to consult with us.
Right.
They want a solution to take a picture of a huge area of plantation.
A plantation.
And they're looking for a method like satellite method, airplane.
Right.
At that time, the drone is not defined as the civilian tools yet.
Not at all.
It's in the military. We want to use the military tools to adapt with the real service provider.
So what's the structure? In other words, did you start doing that with the drones back in 2010?
No. At 2010, we find the drone in the market. But there are no drone in the market, right? No,
there was no DJI back then.
Exactly.
There was no Parrot or whatever you're using now, right?
And then the Parrot is not exist in the commercial way.
Right.
But I think they will research and develop. But the DJI, they sell the toolkits. The toolkits mean you like a Lego. You want to assemble with yourself.
Really?
Which is very rich and which is not the perfect way to give the solution to the customer, right?
No.
So we try to find the military drone, and at that time not a drone, the unmanned helicopter.
Right.
And we use them to operate in Indonesia, but it doesn't work yet because the area is huge and it's very tough. The weather, Indonesia is tough and tough.
But also back then, the cameras weren't even good enough.
We use the video camera, yes, indeed.
Right.
It's not clear enough. So, but the peak is when the unmanned helicopter is not work. We have to build our own fixed wing UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle.
Okay.
Which is very challenging. At that time, we joined with the engineering from Chulalongkorn and the many stakeholders come to help us.
Right. Did you already have a factory at the time that was manufacturing other things or no?
Actually, in this time, we don't have the big whole factory.
Right.
We have a small workshop to build to repair and something like that.
Right.
We focus on the service. We focus on the AI. We focus on the solution. So it's very miracle.
When did the machinery change to the point where you felt confident that now you were going to get the right imaging, that you could service your customers better, and that the maintenance was going to be easier? Do you know what I mean? Because back then you're like assembling it yourself, more made for military, not for mass consumption. So it's hard.
At that time, we have ton of problem. We have the problem with the hardware.
Right.
We changed from the unmanned helicopter to the unmanned UAV.
Right.
The fixed wing UAV. We have problem with the software. The software at that time, we think we only take the video clip to send it to the customer, but they don't know the location.
Right.
When they see the clip, it's not
clear. It's not clear where it is,
and they don't know the location exactly. If they want to point at this area, they don't know the location. They don't know the latitude and longitude.
Right.
So we use the photogrammetry.
Yeah, I want to get to photogrammetry in a second. But back then, when you first started in 2010, right? So I want to talk about what changed. But even back then, if you're just using a video camera, it didn't have embedded data in it, right? So today, if I take an SLR that has, 40 megapixel or 60 megapixel camera, it has all this metadata embedded into it. And you can literally just click, 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 click. And then maybe that's where you get to your photogrammetry, right? But maybe you can explain what that is. But before you do that, when do you think the machinery changed enough and became modern enough and the software became good enough? What year was that where you felt like, okay, now we're getting better at this?
Yeah, I think we realized to adapt ourselves since the customer is declined. I mean, how much the client that have enough money to pay us like before, we have to penetrate the smaller group of customer.
Right.
So as you asked that, we changed the platform of the drone. The 2 meters wingspan is not work anymore.
No.
It take a landway to take off.
Right.
And it's not practical.
No.
So we changed to the smaller drone.
Right.
As you can see in the power by and the mall that have capacity, and the capacity is very exponential.
Yeah, much more so.
Because the DJI has the fund, has the money to develop. I heard that they use the space technology.
I'm sure.
to build the drone, and this is the platform. So we adapt to the smaller one and the commercial one. What is our strength? We focus on the software. We have to develop the software to control any drone.
So do you write your own software?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
How big is your software team?
10 or 20.
Okay, that's a lot of people.
And we develop the AI to analyze the picture that you mentioned. The SLR 40 megapixel is very clear to AI to analyze the crack of the building, or counting the plantation. Right. We have to move on.
So now when you give those pictures to your clients, and again, we haven't defined photogrammetry yet, but let's get to that in a second. Now they know where it is, right? It has the latitude and longitude.
Not only know the values, we have to see into the inside that what they want to know exactly, especially in the plantation. The plantation, they don't know, they not only want to know the how many plants that they plant. Right. Because they know when they grow up, they use the 100 seed, it will grow the 100 trees. Right. So what is they want to know is the yield. So we have to use another vision like a multispectral to adapt.
So when you're doing, I wasn't planning on talking about plantations, but when you're flying over a plantation, how high are you above it? In other words, what's the optimal level to be able to see down low enough, but still be able to analyze the data that's there, including like the soil type and the yield, as you were talking about?
When we're talking about altitude, I have to mention about the legal. The legal of flying is 90 meters, because
that's the lowest you can fly.
Yes, no, it's the highest.
Highest you can fly.
Yeah, highest.
Right, because otherwise you're interfering with.
But is have we have to give a permit. I mean, ask to permit to fly higher if we want. But for the plantation service,
Right.
we fly up lower that. It's about 30 to 60 meters.
So 30, 60 meters.
About the soil, we have to find the water in the soil.
Right.
So it represent not the vision spectral. It's like thermal spectral because we have to find the heat or
Right.
yeah in the soil.
Do you think it's cool?
It's pretty cool, but it's hard to educate the market.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a two sides of the coin.
But what do you mean? So when you go to a farm or a plantation and you say, we could give you great information, they're like,
Farmer have to be educated.
right.
But right now the government is subsidize the cost and the educate
Right.
price. It will be Thailand will be grow in another few years about the agriculture
Absolutely.
with the technology.
Got it. So let's talk about photogrammetry. Exactly what is it and why do most people misunderstand it? And why is it relevant, really?
Yeah. I will illustrate like jigsaw. The photogrammetry, when you play a jigsaw, you
Right.
have to
Stitch it together, right?
Together. The photogrammetry is the same method,
Right.
but we use the aerial picture to stitch, and the benefit is no one know much better than Centrovision, which is we use the photogrammetry for a decade.
Right.
At that time, at the Indonesia that I mentioned, the client doesn't know the location. So the photogrammetry, every pixel in the picture map that we deliver to the customer have the location. So with the location, like Google Map,
Right.
they can calculate the distance. They can, if they want to capture the dead trees at the area,
Right.
they can know the location. So with the location, they can cure or heal or take care of this area precisely.
Right. I mean, it just gives them a ton of data, right?
Exactly.
So when you finally sign on a client, are they amazed at the level of data that you can give to them and then the reaction that they can have to it in the sense that, like you said, if they see a problem on the ground, this is just for the plantation, they can fix it because they know exactly where that is?
Exactly.
How often do you do the Passover? Is it every month, every week, every day?
Depends. I think for the plantation, if it's a corn, I think 3 months.
Every 3
Every
months?
3 months.
Okay.
If it's a rice, it's more than that.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Depending on the crop, right?
Yeah.
So we already talked a lot about the technology that's on a drone. What other kind of companies do you use it for? In other words, how about the real estate market? Do you use it for real estate and how do they use it?
This is very interesting because we see the problem that the inspector cannot inspect outdoor of the condominium. Like the high-rise building is 30 floors to 40 floors. They have a crack or even even exchange building. We met the exchange building owner because the exchange building in the Seoul intersection they built over 30 years. No, not 30 years. More than that. Since the Tom Yam Goong crisis.
Got it.
They built the facade, the face of the building with the marble. And who knows, the marble 30 years, it will be fall down.
Yeah,
and if it
cracks.
fall down,
Right.
it's tragedy.
Yeah.
So we go to use the drone to inspect the marble outside of the building, and we can see the stain. The stain is the indicator to define the stain under the marble. So if the stain can be seen outside, it's very dangerous.
Okay.
And we mapping the facade of the building to deliver to the exchange tower owner that we have to fix on that.
Right.
It's very beneficial.
And what do you do? So you take a drone
Yeah.
and you literally fly it right around the building.
We fly like a circle.
Right around the building until you get to the top, or you start at the top and then you go to the bottom.
Exactly.
And then you do this photogrammetry and some other stuff on the building to analyze it.
Exactly.
Right.
And we use the AI to analyze instead of the human inspection. And then we use 3D model to visualize to the customer that, oh, side A and side B, you have 13 defects, and the side C is 15. And we use this like big data to analyze.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Very interesting.
So what do? You keep track of all this data, and then can you use the data
Yes.
for one building to another building? Is it relevant?
It's relevant because in the construction,
Right.
The way to build a high-rise building is not too much.
Right, not too different, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we can keep tracking the whole circle of the building until the construction.
So what's the business model?
The model is very strange. We like subscription because
That's what I was going to. So is it like a SaaS model?
Yeah, that's a SaaS model because we think the service is not the key success factor.
What is it?
The key success factor is the result. The service, anyone can fly the drone.
Sure.
But it's very risky in nearby the building. But the key is the AI that we develop, which is we use the data set that we keep to train the AI, and it's very precisely 90% accuracy is not no one can do it easily.
So what does that mean? Do you also partner with the other side in the sense that, let's say you're doing an analysis of a building?
Yes.
Do you also talk to the construction companies and say you can fix this when you're constructing it to make the building better? So
Actually,
provide services both ways. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. The funny thing is when we inspect the condominium,
Yeah.
the condominium have to use our report to talk with the construction, right?
They do, right?
And the construction came back to us.
To you.
Yeah, they want to know how can do it, and they hire us to inspect the constructing building that not finished.
That's what I was going to ask you. That's what I was going to ask you, right? So in a way, you get like this extra client because the person or the company that built that building says, wait a second, why don't we fix that while we're building it before it's finished? So then you do that same loop for a new building and say, wait a second, that beam is weak or that beam is weak kind of thing.
When we connect the point, the stakeholder is like an ecosystem.
Yeah.
If we have data, we can talk to each stakeholder easily.
So you're not really like a classic startup, right? Because you said this company started in 1991 as a consulting company.
Exactly.
So is the drone business separate from it, or can you leverage off of the consulting as well?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I think we rest from the problem. I think it's not like classic startup, but every startup have to find the real pain point.
Absolutely.
So the real pain point can be fixed by the drone and our method.
Right.
So we use that to move our business, and I think it's one of the kind way to do it, do the business.
I agree. What do you think is some of the biggest challenges that you face? Because again, you're not a normal or a classic startup.
Yeah.
What do you think some of the biggest challenges are that you face as a company that's trying to develop a brand new market?
Mm-hmm. I think we have to think outside of the box because when we do the photogrammetry about the land, which is like a 2D, right? So have to be compete with the satellite image. I know that at that time at Indonesia we have defeat. I mean we win at that time because the satellite image is not covered at that area enough.
Right.
But when the satellite image is more developed, the solution will be more and more and more. It may be accuracy maybe 2 centimeters in the next few years.
Right.
So in terms of what we talking about inspecting the building is cannot be seen the defect on the satellite image for sure.
No way.
So it must be the drone, and it must be Centrovision to do it.
But isn't the drone much cheaper as well?
Exactly. Much more cheaper.
But it's not even close, right?
Yes. I think the cheaper drone is for toys, but in terms of industrial drone is maybe not cheap enough, but will be cheaper in the next few years. So we think that, and we not take the capital to develop the drone itself.
Right.
We develop the software to control drone.
Are you at the point now where you know so much about how a drone works as a company, right? Including the artificial intelligence and the machine learning and the big data analysis that you're using, where you actually work together with the companies that build the drones and say, could you build a drone like this? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. We work with the Thai robotics startup and company in Thailand.
Okay.
To customize the drone that we want.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the way we depend on our friends. So when we grow up, I think go alone is slow. Go together is faster.
How many drones do you have? Do you rent them? Do you buy them?
We buy it and we develop our own fixed wing. So it's about 50.
So you have your own fixed wing still?
Yeah.
And those are all UVAs, right?
Yes. The fixed wing is still works at a huge area, but in terms of the building, we use the multi-complex drone.
Okay. And is this company, since it's been around since 1991, right? But now you're doing this completely new drone business. This is a company that you're trying to fund as well?
Yes, yes. Because the AI is very challenging in the next few years.
Sure.
In terms of the big data. So we're looking for the funding and to raise the fund into the seeds.
So, and we'll get back to that in a second, right? But because the company's growth, I said, into this sort of startup world is very non-traditional. When, back in 2010 and 11 and 12, when sort of the startup scene in Thailand actually started accelerating, were you involved at all?
Not exactly.
Not really though, right?
Yeah, because we looking in-house to develop.
Right.
For a couple of years until now, we got the funding from the government, like a DEFA, like a NIA.
NIA.
It's very works because not only the funding, the money,
right.
They can support in other ways.
Sure.
So I think the response to the VC or CVC itself, it will be more work in the long term. Because when we got the client is already paid the service, but the other support, they cannot. We are need to be dependent on the funding or the venture capital.
Right. So leaving the funding aside, potentially, what do you think your biggest barrier to growth is?
I think the business model, because the model itself is like a services.
Yep.
If we can matching the guy or the girl who have drone and he can fly for us, it will be break the barrier.
Right.
Right now we have to move and mobilize our team to the site and operate. If we can change the model a little bit, that we have a platform to hide the third party to collect the data for us, I think it will be worked.
It will be. What about the education? You mentioned earlier that sometimes, whether it's the farmers or the construction companies, aren't fully educated about what a drone can do for them and where the value add is. What do you do to help people learn about it?
I think we have to look at each field separately. The drone is only a tool. Right now, the Thai farmer, very used to drone spraying.
Right.
Yeah, very popular, and it's good. It's good. But what we are expertise is data analytics.
The data analysis, yeah.
So if you want to spray, I think you don't need to spray the whole area, the whole field. We have to select the field that has a problem.
Right.
And we can spray at the specific field. So I think to educate the farmer, we have to join with them and have the tools or the platform to educate them.
This is actually really interesting, right? In other words, let's just say there's a 1 hectare farm, and if they're spraying the whole farm, but they don't have to, if the cost of your analysis is less than the amount of money that they save, well, then they should definitely do it.
Exactly.
By allowing you to do the data analysis and say you only really have to spray here, and if they save all the money from not doing this and pay you half of that or some amount, it's got to be worth it, right?
Yes.
I understand. So in March of this year, Thailand, just like every other country in the world, kind of went into lockdown.
Exactly.
Right. So COVID-19, we always talk about it. Did it impact your business at all?
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when we use the drone can contact the people. I mean, to take a photo, but it's not contact in personal.
Right.
So this is a tools, this is a robot tools that not involved in the pandemic much.
Right.
But in terms of marketing, we use the online marketing to like a mainstream marketing. Then we have to personal sales.
Right.
So it's a little bit, not too much.
Right. And how about, we talked about this earlier, but now that you are part of the startup ecosystem in Thailand, what's your view? How do you feel about it?
I think it's changed.
You think?
The startup ecosystem has changed since we have neighbors countries are growing up than us, like Vietnam and Indonesia.
Right.
You can see the ecosystem at there is very strong.
It is.
I think we are changing, but the good part is the big companies, the government have see that problem
Right.
and want to solve it, like through digital park.
Yeah.
They have to establish here to be like a hub
Yep.
to Thai startup or even Thai ecosystem. But you cannot see the Thai as a citizen. Thai mean who even the foreigner in Thai is involved in the Thai startup or Thai ecosystem also. So I think it will be changed since traditional park has established because here is have many opportunities.
Yeah.
And the facility is perfect to grow a startup.
So one of the things that I think is really important, actually, and I think you make a really good point, is that if you can get a bunch of startups in the same place, even if they're not in related businesses, they're still trying to grow.
Yes.
And I think if the CEOs and the CMOs and the CTOs, just when they're having coffee or having a beer after work, talk to each other and say, how are you handling this problem? Or how do I fix that? If there's a if there's a group, right, a concentration of companies in one place, it just can't be bad.
Yes.
Right?
Because when we going back like 5-6 years, the co-working space in Bangkok is very growing up.
Yep.
Because the people gathering at the place. But when the people not gathering at the space, the ecosystem is like a
it's just fragmented.
Yeah, it's fragmented.
Super fragmented, yeah.
So if the traditional park has gathering the all stakeholder about startup,
right,
I think it will work.
Yeah, it can't be bad at all. Yes. I used to work at the Hive actually, on Soy 49. And it was great for me because I would literally walk from floor to floor and I would knock on the doors of other companies and just say, what are you guys doing?
Yes.
It was a great way for me to meet people, to network and stuff. And I do the same thing here. People think I'm crazy, but it works.
Yes.
Right?
You know everybody here.
I know everybody here. And everybody knows me. It cannot be a bad thing. What do you think the future is for Centrovision and drones? Do you branch out from just the data analytics and the artificial intelligence and machine learning? Do you see any other businesses that you can use the drones for, or are you just sort of laser focused on that part of it?
Actually, we have like a hackathon ourselves every year.
Oh,
so
okay.
The idea of the drone to the high-rise building is just launched last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At that time, we think we have to do something new, and we are the innovation people. So we think if we do something new, we cannot be disrupted. We must be disrupt
ourselves.
Others. Yes.
Yeah, disrupt yourselves, right?
So I think that Centrovision future is we are looking for the new things, such as we have to build the new business unit that can be raised, that can be growing up.
Okay.
Right now, we don't have a new idea because the high rise is a very new idea, and we have to focus on the high rise. We call it Cent Inspect. It's from Centrovision Inspect. So we have differently product. Scenario survey is our primary service that use the big screen to map it. And we have like a 360 VR service that called CNI
Okay.
which is we have service here at Traditional Park.
Do you?
Yes, you can do at the website of the Traditional Park and 360 of CNI
Did you took those pictures?
Yes, we take a picture of like a mapping of indoor, and it will be collapsed with the outside if we have the data from the same spec. So the indoor and outdoor will be like a digital twin. So we can mapping indoor and outdoor of the building. Indoor is for like a marketing or presentation.
Right.
But the outdoor we can use for engineering purpose.
I love it. Are you a technologist?
Not a futurist.
You're what? A futurist?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. Look, I really want to thank you for coming in and doing this today. Thamma Varangoon, a co-founder and the chief marketing officer at Centrovision. Really fascinating today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.